to the Payal Nanjiani Leadership Podcast. This is your host, Payal Nanjiani, and each week we bring you an inspiring thought leader from around the world to help you unlock the success within you and for you to become a great leader. Thanks for joining me today, and we have with us in the studio none other than Mrs. Indrani Malkani, an Ashoka Fellow and the chairman at We Citizens Action Network, also called as We Can, which is an organization with the overarching objective to establish effective linkages between government and citizens and work in partnership with several government authorities. Formerly from a corporate background, Indrani is now associated in voluntary work with various government authorities and also the Election Commission of India in Maharashtra. She also conducts live interactive talk shows titled Together We Can, Social Sanchar with the motto Interact with your government from wherever you are. She is also a member of the Internal Complaints Committee for Sexual Harassment of Women in multiple companies. And she joins us today on the Payal Nanjiani Leadership Podcast to talk about sexual harassment. Rani, welcome to the podcast. It is such an honor to have you here with us.
My pleasure, Payal. Looking forward to a nice chat with you.
Lovely to have you here. Now, your bio was so extensive. You have multidimensional experiences in various fields. You're on the committee of various government agencies. Tell us about yourself. Where did you start from, and what brought you to this area?
Well, let's put it this way. Life is a long journey, full of interesting episodes and experiences. So as you have already introduced me that I am formerly from the corporate world, so let me just give a little nudge over there. The corporate world where I was part of is the hospitality industry. Okay. And I handled major conventions and conferences. And in hospitality, it is all to do with people. So people's skills, which I picked up in my corporate world, stands me in good stead in my next innings, which I started later in life. And I think I call myself now an unconventional social worker.
Wow.
I have often been asked that you are an expert in many fields. Why is it you insist on calling yourself a social worker? So my stock answer is that if you're working for society, you are a social worker, whichever way you look at it. So having said that, my professional training earlier in life was to do with people and how to handle and solve problems. Here too, in my social work sector or the voluntary work sector is the same thing. I again deal with people. And mind you, the challenges here are even more multifaceted than I ever faced in the corporate world. But there are certain things which are very common. And one of them is sexual harassment where women are concerned. So I'm not talking specifically of myself just now, but these are things which are quite, how should I say, commonplace. But handling it is something that I will talk about as we go along in our chat. That's one part of myself. But I think I have always, by nature, wanted to do various things in life, which led me to become a private pilot as well during my stint in the corporate world when I was working in Delhi. That taught me, my flying training taught me how to fly high and fly free, but with an inherent sense of discipline. Because without discipline, you will crash and you will die. Worse is, you don't die, you get badly injured, and then you are no longer yourself.
That's so well put.
So, all of these things in life teach you. There are little nuggets, along the way, which actually frame a person. And so what you are chatting with me today is not something that has just happened overnight. It is learning from various people of the street, people, my peers, children, adults, going to be adults. So all these problems come in, enriches your life and teaches you how to handle situations which you are bound to face in life, how to overcome certain hurdles in life, and yet be successful. But then again, I would also say that this sort of work has taught me to become very, very humble. Because that's when you actually count your blessings and you see all the things that you take for granted. And then you see that what all things others face in their daily lives, which is what led me to give the direction to the organization that I help, that people face various problems in their daily lives and how to solve it for themselves. Now, one thing here I must say, I'm a woman through and through. And I do believe that women can solve any problem under the sun. But we tend to underplay ourselves and our capabilities. Each one of us have got a particular strength. The direction is to find that strength and use it to the optimum. Can you imagine if we were all alike? It would be like we are all clones. There'll be no fun in it. So all of us women, we are colorful, we are cheerful, we are disciplinarians, we are, we can solve any problem. We can be anything that we want to be. But
Very well put.
There are processes by way of which, and what I'm telling you today is what I believe in and what I do. You ask me about myself, that's who I am. And just be yourself. You don't really have to worry about what anybody thinks.
Oh, yes.
So long as you know what you think of yourself.
That's so well said, Indrani, that you don't have to think of what others think about you as long as it's important what you think about yourself.
Yes. And that little voice will tell you where you're erring, what you need to improve upon, and what you ought to do.
Yeah, very true.
So listen to yourself.
Very right. And you also said that you love people, you like to be around people, you're a people person. And I must say, having met with you personally, having interacted with you, spent time with you, you definitely are, because I was just so comfortable with you. I was, within the flow of what you were saying. So I think that's very apt. You are definitely a people person. People can really get along with you very well.
Thank you. But don't worry, I'm also a disciplinarian. So I think a lot of people who walk with me have often said, "Oh, karak madam hai."
That's how you hold yourself. I was telling you just before the podcast also, I find you with so much of dignity in you. So I think that's what brings you out. That's your personality, and it's just building more people, making them more disciplined. Because, like you said, it is more better to be disciplined than to be broken later.
True. It gives a direction. That's very true.
Right, very right. So tell me, what got you interested in coming into the becoming, you're on the committee of even the government committees, right? You're on different government committees also.
Yes.
What brought you to become the committee in the area of sexual harassment?
Okay, let me go back a little. When you said government committees, I got involved in primarily from the civic side.
Okay.
When I came to Mumbai, I must say here, going back a little in time, I am from Kolkata. My workplace was in Delhi, and I made my home in Mumbai, maximum city. So the distinction between the three cities, this will lead me, sort of give a direction to where I'm going with the work part of it. So in Kolkata, I was schooled, I was brought up, that's my family. I am a Bengali. Delhi was my workplace, and that's where I learned to work and interact with the government, the North and South block of the seat of power.
Yeah.
So that taught me well. And then, of course, my husband came into my life, my future husband, seafarer, completely different worlds, but that's the fun of life, right? Absolutely. So that's how I came to live in Mumbai. Now, in Mumbai, which is known as the maximum city. This is a city which various people look at it differently and say, but there is no getting away from the fact that it is one of the most vibrant cities of. I've been an avid traveler prior to my getting married. So I used to travel quite a bit all around the world. And it is true that Mumbai is a city of contrast. It is a city of challenges, and it is a city of dreams. You will not find a person just loitering around in this city. Everyone, in a common parlance in Mumbai, it is called the Mumbai is the city of Dhanda.
Yeah.
So everyone is looking to make something of himself or herself in this city. So that's how I came to be in Mumbai. Now, mind you, when I had my child here, so as a mother, I must say that this role has shaped my work. Being a mother shaped my role to a great extent in my work. Because a mother, without realizing, looks at various problems from a point of compassion, of understanding, empathy, discipline, teaching, you just name it. It is very nicely rounded into one little tiny ball, but a very powerful one. So when you are in a city where you are bringing up your child, you look upon the society of that city in a different way. At least that is how I did. And then I started to realize a lot of things, that in this maximum city, where it's a city of dreams, etc., what are certain issues that would shape the future generation? How does it give confidence to women? What are the ways to solve problems? All of this came into a nice capsule, which has given direction to my work. So that's how I got involved with the various government agencies. Because one thing I must clarify here, being in this in the sector of social service, I do not see myself working in parallel system with the government, because that is very, very silly, because it is the government, and we always say that we are taxpayers. So make the government work, but how? Not by confrontation, but by consultation. That has been my motto. And work in partnership. These are two things which has driven my work throughout, has driven and will drive in future as long as I work in whichever way you look at it. So that's how I got into various government committees. As a matter of fact, I'm also in a High Court committee. Anyone who knows Mumbai will know the famous and iconic the Girgam Chowpatty beach in South Mumbai, one of those rare beaches. Now that beach is under a High Court appointed committee, and I have been the original member. And we have solved a whole lot of contentious issues over there. But when I say we, I say it together with the government agencies who are also members. So this is how I got involved. And as I went along in all this work, what I noticed and what I said right in the beginning, sexual harassment directed at women is no different. And I could see in many places. Now, in the meantime, if you have followed the Indian judiciary and some of the cases that came up, the Vishaka judgment came. And it was, the judgment was delivered by Justice Sujata Manohar. And she was, the first lady Chief Justice. She was one of those path-breaking judges of the Supreme Court and Supreme Court of India. And she laid down she gave the judgment of Vishaka judgment. You can read about it, which transferred itself to becoming an act. And this act was in 2013, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, it is in 2013. And it's called the Sexual Harassment at Workplace for Women. Okay. Soon after the act was published, which was in April, 22nd April, if I'm not mistaken, the rules, because you can have an act, but unless you have the rules, you can't give teeth to the act, right?
Right.
So that too was published, and that was in December. So not so the gap, if you see, it's April and December very quickly. In fact, 9th of December, 2013, it was published. And what are the key words of the act? Let me just share that, and then I'll come back to your original. The key words are prevention, prohibition, and redressal, in that order.
Okay.
So when I knew about this, and I found that somehow the companies are not really forming this internal committee. Like, I have to say here, I've got a long nose. So I go poking about, and I come across something and I said, hey, wait a minute. Why didn't this happen? So, so in one of my interactions with some ladies, and I asked, that there is something like this. So then says, but there is no way that we can take this up, even though, some things happen. And in general, women are hesitant to talk about things, which is, they feel it's personal. And I think it's over generations that this has been built up, where women are made to feel that they should be the one to make a compromise in every situation. So that, sort of cascades into your workplace very easily, that flow comes in. So that's how I think I started looking around what's happening. Okay. And I'm not even sure. I have no idea how the word went around. And before I know it, all the top insurance companies of our country, they approached me to be in their internal committee. I, of course, with great enthusiasm and quick steps, entered that arena, because I said, okay, I've got the opening, I've got to make it happen. So that's how I got involved. And having got involved, here I must tell you that my role is of an external member. That's the way the internal committee is structured. You can read about the act, and if you want to later on share with your viewers, your audience, as to the details, anybody can Google it and download it. You will find that the composition of the committee requires an external member. The rest can be employees of the company. The chairperson will, chairman, I always say chairman. That is another question I have been asked, that why do you call yourself chairman? So I said, why is it president and never something else with the, it's just both. That's why I call myself chairman of our organization. Okay. So similarly, you have the person, and I'm an external member. So an external member somehow dons the cap of an auditor. So then you become completely neutral, because you have no allegiance to the company. You're not an employee of the company. Therefore, you ought to be fearless and to the point and make things happen correctly. Okay. That is definitely my calling. And therefore, I am very much at home in these committees. And I see that there is a lot to be done.
Absolutely. So Indrani, when you spoke, and like you said, this is your calling, and you're going towards this because there's so much to be covered, so much to be done. With the very basic thing of sexual harassment, I don't think sexual harassment is only defined or limited to women. And I'm sure you know more than me in this, because you're the one every day you're dealing with this. So what exactly constitutes sexual harassment at workplace?
Now, wait a minute. Here I must... sexual harassment, and with the act and the rules, which I talked about in India, in Indian context, is specific to women. That does not exclude that the men are not harassed. Okay? Right. There are enough women bosses who could also, I wouldn't say, also does and would harass men. And even in the case of rape, women, a rape victim is always looked upon as a woman. I mean, we would, a natural instinct. Why do we not look at young boys or older men or whoever it may be? So that part is gender neutral. I get that. But in the place of law, if we are talking about this particular act, this is directed only towards women. As far as men are concerned, the criminal justice system is very much there. So it is not as if that there isn't any recourse, or redressal. That, but you see, unfortunately, women have been more at the receiving end of this harassment than perhaps men. I don't know that. I don't have the statistics, so I will not make a sweeping statement. But from what we have seen or what we, notice, and it doesn't mean in the corporate world, it is anywhere, including domestic. Let's not, and this act applies to everyone. Okay. So whilst in the companies, you have the internal committee of a company, there is something also which is called a local complaints thing, which comes under the district collector. Okay. So therefore, if you look at, say, the domestic workers, right? So where do they go? They go to the local committee. Okay. Okay. But the rules, everything remains the same. Same. Okay. Yeah, because there's always that thing, that now with so many things happening, how are we defining sexual harassment? And like you said, in the act, this is what's covered. So how do women who are experiencing this type of a sexual harassment at workplace, what do you think are the coping mechanisms? Now, you see, there are two parts to it. One is, when we talk about sexual harassment, one thing I have noticed that depending on the woman's background and how, like when you talk about workplace, there are workplace and workplace, right? So we can't just say it is only one. Though the harassment, the nature of harassment remains the same, by the way. It will always be, if you're looking at sexual harassment, it's the same, irrespective of where you are. Even a domestic will be the same, right? Yeah. But what happens with a woman? Now consider yourself and myself. If a male colleague, for example, came and just say, hey, hi, and gives a pat on your back, it's just in the passing, we would not necessarily immediately think it is sexual intent. Right. But let's be very, very honest with ourselves. But if it is the same, now today, small town young ladies from the villages, everywhere, you're progressing, the ways and means are there to reach a certain level and all that. But to them, if that happens, that person will become, that woman, girl or woman, depending, will find it difficult to accept it as in the passing. Okay. Everyone does not react in the same way or is able to accept it. To us, the degree of sexual harassment, for example, would be if the same pat, that, hey, hi, and you just, as a manner of drawing attention, you're calling somebody, crosses a little bit more and lingers, we will immediately know the intent. So this is how we'll have to differentiate. So I think with coping mechanism, every woman, irrespective of their background, irrespective of where they come, every one of us have a certain level of, when we know that we are not comfortable. The moment you're uncomfortable, even the slightest bit, that's where you say cut. Okay, so you just need to be spot on at that time. Don't keep going outside. Do not accept. If you're uncomfortable with something, that's it. It doesn't matter who it is. I agree. You are now. Let's also make it this way: the harassment today necessarily need not be by a man. There are, we are well aware that same-sex relationships are very common. Right. So if a woman is attracted to another woman and, makes a gesture which makes the other woman uncomfortable, then that's it. Yeah. So you see, all these layers are there. In 2 words, 5 words, it is difficult to, put a label or just, identify that this is what it is. No. Comfort level at workplace is very important. If you're not comfortable with anyone's, like in any way, and that's for your own self, your own dignity, then there is a problem. Okay, that's really well done. Yeah. Now, there is a point here. very often, if your work is, when your assessment is going on, your boss reprimands you on or points out a flaw, or I think all of us have been given a dressing down by our bosses at some point or the other, right? Now, again, we should be able to realize that, is the dressing down related to any other advances earlier made? Anytime you were made to feel uncomfortable and that dressing down has followed that, then it would be constituted as sexual. Because ultimately, what is sexual harassment? It's a quid pro quo, right?
Yeah.
I'll do this for you, you give something back.
Absolutely.
So that quid pro quo is something which one has to keep in mind.
Okay.
And that's going to happen with women. I'm specifically talking about women here because we are discussing this, the legal framework. So from there, I'm saying that when you come from a certain societal background, then you have to slowly get educated. And sometimes women also want to feel fit in, fit in. Yeah. And that causes problems too. So I think I would say here that every woman must be given that opportunity, must have that feeling of confidence in themselves and be proud in order to fit in. Okay. See? So that is the balance, fine balance, I think we should all endeavor. All of us who have succeeded in life to some extent, have had the experience of being very places, let's become all mentors, to the other generation now coming up and give that little bit of a helping hand. I think that will go a long way to enabling our the younger generation, and equally start talking about sexual issues. That's like a taboo.
The awareness.
We won't talk about it. Yeah. And I think that happened with our menstrual hygiene issue. Yeah. And I'm also with another organization, by the way, where I'm a director, which deals with, and I have introduced you to them, which works with children. Yes. And menstrual hygiene. Yeah, menstrual hygiene is something that we took up very strongly because A, there are taboos. B, we will not talk. It's a very bodily function. Absolutely. So why on earth would we feel hesitant, etc., and we will call it by different names? We want to hide it up. Yeah, all of these are realities. And it is not just, let's not make that mistake about thinking it is only a societal issue in India. Not at all. In fact, it is seen a lot more outside of India too. But it's just that we don't look at it. Oh, there are other reasons, I won't go into it. But let's talk about my country, where I am from. And I think a lot of things have changed because people are talking and, the borders have opened up. So I think the more, like you're saying, the more you talk about it, the more awareness you create about it. That's exactly how that's exactly even one of the ways of coping with this sexual harassment in that case. Absolutely. I tell you, people think that people in the villages don't know. Rubbish. Mega city in Mumbai, I have seen people being, and I have often wondered, I said, here you are showing yourself to be, with things. Let me put it that way. I'm playing my generation, okay? So playing in with things. And yet, in your mind, you are somewhere else. Why? Yeah. So talk to your girls, talk to your daughters, talk to your sons. Right. I talk to your sons, I think is, exactly. Talking to your sons is more important. That's another point I want to make. I told you that the role of the mother is what shaped me into going into all of this. Yes. Right? So here I say, I'm a mother of a boy, a young man now. So here I say, if you don't raise your son right, then you are at fault. Absolutely, yeah, because everybody's boy will learn the workforce. Exactly. Right. So each one of us have a duty to society and to the next generation. That's so wonderful. We better do it. Very, very well. You have put all these points together, and you've articulated it so well and so honestly, in fact, brutally honestly, saying that spread that awareness, which is not there. It's not only about the workplace. It's not only inside your company,
But say, for example, if anyone is being sexually harassed, like you said, there is a legal framework for it. So, what are two or three things? Like one of them, like you said, is the spread the awareness and all. But when a person is sexually harassed, a woman, what are the two or three things that she can do in such a case?
Well, if it is the company, then the woman should go and lodge the complaint with the internal committee, period.
Okay.
There is a format by way of which how you can, put out the complaint. No doubt you can also go to the police. The doors of the police are not closed on this at all. But the internal committee, from the workplace point of view, is definitely your first step to go for it.
So what happens usually once you go to the internal committee?
Oh, then the internal committee has to take up that case and do an investigation. First of all, the internal committee will need to see that it falls under the purview of a sexual harassment. There are, set rules, and I mean, that would go into a long, session by itself if I were to explain the entire act. It's a lot of it, but it is very clear as to what you need to look for to understand if the nature of the complaint is actually sexual harassment, or is it that it is being perceived as one just because the person has been put to task for lack of, work or something. Those things also happen.
Yeah,
false cases are also fine. Yeah,
but Indrani, there are a lot of women who are hesitant to even go and speak it out.
I agree, which is why the act, as I told you, there were three key words. That's what I said right in the beginning, right?
Yes.
Prevention and prohibition. So by the mandate of the rules, every committee has to put out certain things on a website of all these committees, the internal committee composition with the names of the members and their contact numbers have to be published. You have to, there are literature, there are details which you need to put in key places in the company premises by way of which all women become aware that such a committee exists. And that if you have any, so you see, once you make it open, then even the perpetrators of a crime will think twice.
Correct.
That there is this thing, So again, if I see, like, for example, in a workplace, if one ex-woman sees a Y woman being harassed, there is nothing to stop that ex-woman from filing a complaint that I saw this.
Also. Okay. Yeah, we don't think of that usually. We think,
it will be of interest for you to read the rules, the act first, the rules, and all that. But ultimately,
many of us don't know this. We feel, oh, it's her work. She's harassed. She's the one who should go, and we keep motivating them. You go. We don't take that step for anyone.
No, but that person should go, irrespective. You will handicap the victim.
Okay.
If the victim doesn't go and stand up for her own right.
Okay.
You must stand up for your own right. Why would you not go? You see, the moment you give that confidence to the woman.
Yeah, she needs to go there and get it done.
That's it.
Absolutely.
You must go.
Like you said, it's the wings. Like you said, it's the wings that you had to fly. Yeah, that's exactly what you're doing. I think that's
you have to give that. And I tell you, one of the fallouts of sexual harassment is that you destroy the woman's confidence and the woman's, like courage, faith in herself. So such a woman is a battered, and it's not always physical. Remember, the battered woman syndrome is physical. Always. The mental and the emotional is what actually debilitates you more than the physical.
I agree.
The physical scars might form a scab and may leave a little mark, but the emotional and the mental, things leave the. It's very, very tough.
It's a scar. So it's forever. I agree, and that is so well said.
And mind you, it doesn't just stay with you. It has the habit of going into your, interaction with others, your family. Everyone gets it, like in different ways, but it does shape your life.
Yeah. I
So
agree.
that is something we must take very, very.
And that's why, like you said, even the men who are entering the workforce need an education on this, which is very true, very right. So,
Yes.
Indrani, you have shared so many nuggets. What would be your piece of advice to people who want to become successful in their career life?
In their career life. In the
You're
career
successful
life,
yourself, right? So, what would you tell them?
well, success is a very relative term. Is it success with money?
Mm-hmm.
You have to answer that question yourself.
Yeah.
Or is it your job satisfaction? It is. I don't take any money for any of the work I do now.
I know, yes.
So actually, I don't have any money. And one of the things I would I would always believe, and that's something irrespective, depending on where you are, there are certain guiding principles that I follow, and I would like to share that with you. One
Please.
is that you don't compromise on your ethics.
Mm.
The day you do that, you actually compromise yourself.
Mm.
Now, how you keep your ethics in a corporate world or where you're working for money, how much is your personal ethics I'm talking about, mind you, right? So then you will know you will go this far and not further.
Mm.
So there are some of these balancing acts that you will have to do. So if you're talking about in general, men or women and everyone else, some of the things are common to all. As a woman, I believe that I would like to share. Women are capable of anything and anywhere and will always be successful should they put their mind to it. There will be deterrents, there will be challenges, but then we are multifaceted. We are so wired. Actually, a woman is wired to handle anything in life.
Yeah.
We give birth, we are capable of giving birth to another human being. There is no way that we can fail in anything that we set our mind to. But having said that, we also must be practical and we must be a realist. So getting the balance in life, I think a lot of people talk about balance. So I will go back to that balancing act. Ultimately, life is all about balance. The day you lose your balance, you will fall.
Absolutely.
So get the balance right. You will know. You will know. Nobody has to tell you that.
Yeah.
And we women know it. Whether we acknowledge it in first go or not, that's another matter. Perhaps experience makes you see things in different light. And I'm sure that will happen.
Right.
To all of us, it has happened. And I'm sure that it will so as we go along. We will make mistakes. Everyone is allowed to make mistakes. But from the mistake, we rise, we learn, and we take the next step and make sure we win the next time. So that is within us. We must acknowledge it and bring it out. I would tell this to everyone. Doesn't matter from where you come.
Yeah.
Everyone has it and everyone can do it. You need to find that little strength which sets you up. Each one of us have got that little nugget. It's not the same for everyone.
True. That's so well
find that and use it.
Oh,
that's what I would say to everyone. Whether it is your career, whether it's the home. I always see this, that we make this differentiation of a career. How is being a mother not a career? You tell me that.
Yeah. True. That's right. Yeah, we just differentiate everything and then it comes out in black and white. There's no gray areas. Yeah.
There is no difference in the home.
Yeah.
At a place where you go to work to earn money, or a place you go to give service to society.
Yeah, very right.
These I have gone through
and
going through. Not the place of work to get money, but
but I think this is such a wonderful work that you're doing, and like the advice that you gave, it's like you all have it inside of you. In fact, my very first book was titled Success is Within. And it just brought me those thoughts back that everything is so inside of you. You don't have to look outside. The first thing that you have to do is self-reflection. And another thing that I really picked up in this conversation was don't lose out or compromise on your ethics. because if you
Yes.
do it one time, you will compromise somewhere with yourself in the future. And I think that's such a good thing. And I stand by it a lot. I stand by it a lot. So that's really, really nice, Indrani. And you have been
Thank you.
so kind. I know that your busy schedule. I have met with you. You've become a dear, dear friend of mine. So I'm really grateful that and honored that you have come here and shared these nuggets in the time that you have given us.
Oh, thank you, Payal, because it's been truly very, very interesting afternoon with you, this chat. And I do look forward to having chats with you, irrespective of the recording or the podcast. I mean, we will chat again.
Yes,
And when you
absolutely.
talk to people, when you meet people, you're richer by the day, the moment.
I love that.
Always. At least that way I look at it. And it's just the fun of life. I
But
don't see life in gloomy shades. Everything goes.
very nice. And I
Take
have
it and
so
do it.
much to learn from you. So, in fact, more than you, I'll be looking forward to meeting with you and having those chats with you over coffee or dinner. But it's been such a pleasure. So, thank you
My
so much
pleasure.
for doing this.
But I
And
must thank you for giving me this opportunity. I
uh,
am about, yeah, I will go chat, chat, chat. Getting
but
this
that's
opportunity
what we
is
enjoy,
fun.
right? That's what we enjoy.
Love.
And this was like so free flowing from you. It just seemed you spoke all the things from your heart, what came. So thank you so much for this. And this one's for our listeners. This is Indrani Malkani and Payal Nanjiani wishing you loads of success in your life. God bless each of you.